Get ready for an atomic bomb. Is Ralsei who he pretends to be? Why does Chris keep ripping out their own heart? And why is Ralsei the only Darkner who doesn't turn to stone when outside his home fountain? The answer to these questions will reveal the true nature of this world, the origin of Deltarune, and why Chris is acted so sketchy. Gentle viewer, nothing is quite as it seems to be. Your favorite fluffy boy is actually a boy of dark fluff, which shouldn't be surprising because he is the Prince of Darkness, but it goes deeper than that, all right? This last chapter took 3 years. Do you really think everything is as it looks, huh? No, the twists and turns have been meticulously crafted. So let's jump into who Chris really is. What's the deal with Chris? They seem cool. And Ralsei is definitely crushing on him. And also they create portals to dark dimensions in their living room, which is a talent. In fact, let's take a look at that bathroom cutscene, huh? No, not that one. Yeah. Not long before Chris splits their living room between light and dark, they rip their soul out of their body and throw it under the sink before slinking out the window and presumably slashing the tires of Toriel's car. Like your crazy ex-girlfriend. But you deserved it, so she's not crazy. You are. What the hell is going on here? It's as though they had to remove the essence of their being before they could do dark deeds. Makes sense, but this has a terrifying implication. It means that when Chris is flexing demonic powers, they are not the one in control. When the heart breaks, we die. When the heart is under the bathroom sink, we are not the one in control. So who is? Who is in control? That is a good question. More like, what is in control? Sometimes you gotta be like Chris and let the darkness take hold. Time to embrace our sponsor, Raid Shadow Legends. You think you know mobile RPGs? Think again. Think again. Jeez. This bitch has got awesome 3D graphics, addictive gameplay, and boss fights. Did I mention that it's free? It's free! God damn it, it's free! It's also got hundreds of champions. Look at all of them. In dwarves. You can't have a fantasy game without dwarves. Dwarven society is split across a rigid caste system of delvers, craftsmen, and the dwarven nobility and priesthood. This lady is my fave, because she can beat me up and step on my neck. And the dwarves are just the beginning. Raid's got a bunch of awesome new champions and a guardian ring, which will give you lots of new ways to get you laid and to use your champion. You'll get laid, I promise. And at the start of December, Raid is launching one of its biggest, most anticipated events ever. Ever? We've got some rewards for new players for the next 30 days. This all looks so good!
If you want to get a huge head start in Raid, all you have to do is hit the link in the description or scan my QR code, and you'll get an epic hero, Chonoru, who is amazing in the Doom Tower. He's so good. 200,000 silver, 1 XP boost, 1 energy refill, and 1 ancient shard, so you can summon an awesome champion as soon as you get in game.
Rewards found here.
That's all for today's sponsor. Now let's get back to Chris's darkness. In order to make possible the events that drive Deltarune towards the unimaginable, Chris is being driven by a dark side, an edgy shadow self. Hey! Recall that if we talk to Sham in Chapter 1, he says the Eastern Fountain was created by a, quote, strange knight. The same strange knight who King serves. Upon seeing Chris create the fountain in the living room, it's implied Chris is that knight. We also know, thanks to Queen's dialogue, that all it takes to create a dark fountain is enough determination from a Lightner. Chris, being a Lightner, is naturally capable of banging new dark realities into existence. Therefore, the person using them must be a Darkner, because a Lightner would just do the deed themselves without needing a slave. So who could this Darkner be? Well, who's the most fishy? King is locked, defeated in a cell. Queen is pretty diabolical, but ultimately she doesn't even know about the roaring. Ralsei has to tell her that if she overdoes the darkness, then the world's gonna end in a catastrophic disaster. So she just seems a little too, clueless. She doesn't even know about the roaring. Who doesn't know about the roaring? Queen only finds out because Ralsei tells her. But how does Ralsei know? I know I said that everybody knows about the roaring, but I'm being facetious, okay? In fact, Ralsei knows a lot of things that he seems like he shouldn't. When we first walk into Castletown in Chapter 2, Ralsei somehow knows his way around the school, giving Chris and Susie directions on where to get all the game stuff so we can bring it back to the Dark World. Kinda sus, is it not? Ralsei shouldn't know his way around the Light World, unless he's been there before. He's also the only Darkener who doesn't turn to stone when he leaves his home fountain. Sure, he's the Prince of Darkness, but technically, so is Lancer. So why does Lancer turn to stone in the dark cyber world, but not Ralsei? Ralsei also appears out of nowhere when we mosey into the library fountain. Where did he come from? Many have asked these questions, but nobody has answered them. Until now. Ralsei knows his way around the Dark World. Ralsei can exist without issue in every fountain and appeared out of nowhere because Ralsei exists within Chris. Oh my god! Ralsei being connected to a Lightener gives him all the perks of being a Lightener. He sees through Chris's eyes whenever they walk around the Light World. He's able to channel Chris's determination to create new dark fountains. Also, Ralsei being a Darkener is quite relevant to the time of day when Chris has their weird episodes. Chapter 1, Chris ripped their heart out at night. Chapter 2, ripped their heart out and slashed Toriel's tires at night. Night, of course, being when it's dark out. A logical time for a Darkener to thrive. This is no coincidence. You can think of Chris as a vessel for both light and dark. Since the beginning of Deltarune, Chris is in control during the day, and at night, they throw their soul into a safe place so Ralsei can pull strings like a puppet master. It's not a choice, it's a burden carried by the protagonist of a complex story. But why, you may ask? Why should chill Chris and adorable Ralsei share a being? And perhaps more importantly, why does Ralsei have to be so creepy? If you're tapped even a little bit into the Deltarune fandom, you will know that this femboy goat is very popular. So popular, in fact, that my video about Ralsei being a girl, it ruffled a few thousand feathers. To make dumb claims about Ralsei's gender is insulting to the fluffy boy. And now, I'm accusing Ralsei of injecting darkness into the plot and manipulating Chris? How could I do this to sweet Ralsei? Why is it pronounced Ralsei? When did this happen? I hate this pronunciation. You wouldn't be mad if I did this to Dr. Eggman, would you? Well, actually, Sonic fans are a logical bunch. They might be mad. But here's the thing. Dr. Robotnik is bad and silly. To besmirch the name of a selfish, silly, mustached man with dumb glasses, well, it's not gonna ruffle as many feathers as doing it to a character that people really love. If there's one thing the comments on the Is Ralsei a Girl video taught me, it's that you don't mess with Ralsei. He's too popular, too precious, but sweet viewer. Haven't you seen Swanky Box's sweet video on Ralsei being the villain of Deltarune? Much of my evidence for Ralsei's sketchiness is based off of it. However, this rock-solid idea of Chris and Goat inhabiting the same body is mine. And Ryan's. Maybe someone else on the internet beat us to it, I don't know, but I don't want to do any more Googling than I have to. And hey, if you thought of it first, we could be friends. We could share the idea and sit down and drink coffee and talk about demonic goats possessing gender-neutral teenagers. Speaking of gender-neutral, let's talk about pronouns, a hot topic in current year. However, this is not going in the usual direction that such conversations go. No. If you're still unconvinced that Chris hosts two souls, then I'll bring out the big guns. We're talking about language now. See, we know Chris goes by they, them. Neither she, her, nor he, him. Gender neutral. Toby Fox has portrayed emerging values of gender expression. That's a pretentious way of saying Susie ain't a girly girl, Ralsei ain't a manly man. Plus, there's plenty of same-sex romances and whatnot, so Mr. Fox is a 21st century fellow, and that's dope. I wanted to acknowledge that before saying, let's take a closer look at they, them. One can use they, them as singular gender-neutral pronouns, but one can also use these words as plural. They went to the store can of course mean two people went to the store. So I will plant my flag firmly in the ground and say that they, them has a double meaning for Chris. They, them refers to both Chris's gender neutrality and the plural which exists within them. Chris is literally two beings, Chris and Ralsei, a plural and a gender neutral. Oh my god, it's almost too perfect. Sometimes I outdo myself. Oh, stop it, stop it. No, please stop. Please stop. Please stop. Stop it! Sorry, I get overstimulated easily. Also, hyping myself up with fake sound effects is kinda cringe. And here's the thing, I'm not saying Ralsei is the evil one. Alright? No, he's simply the Prince of Darkness. It's in the lore. He's an essential part of keeping the balance. Just look at the intro of Chapter 1. It was a legend of hope, it was a legend of dreams, it was a legend of light, it was a legend of dark. This is the legend of Deltarune. For millennia, light and dark have lived in balance, bringing peace to the world. The Prince of Darkness will bring peace to the world! Confusing, no? But remember, if light and dark were to get out of balance, everything would fall into chaos. The world would end. Is that really what you want? The femboy prince creates dark fountains for your own good. Think about it. The light world is nice, but it's pretty boring. Why do you think Susie can't wait to get to the next adventure? If the world were only a pleasant town, then why bother existing? No problems, no adventures, nothing to sharpen your mind or test your will. Dark fountains are the portal to meaning. There's a reason most of the game takes place within them. They're way more interesting. The Strange Knight created them to make something real happen. What, you just want to look at fall leaves and chop at fake grillbees for the rest of eternity? No, I want to slay monsters and imprison a tyrannical king. Risking your life, testing your abilities, turns you into a person with meaning in their lives. But too much darkness will only fill the world with despair. Hence, all these fountains popping up is starting to become a little much. This town needs some spice, but too much salt is gonna ruin the dish. The achievement of balance is a messy but necessary process. Perhaps Ralsei is going too far, or perhaps he hasn't gone far enough. Do you trust his judgment? Do you trust that his intense desire for darkness is all for the better? Susie certainly digs the result of Ralsei's schemes. She loves to clomp around in dark worlds. It's way better than school. Finally, Susie has found meaning in her life thanks to what supposedly is bad. Does that mean the darkness did something good? You can think of this as a universal truth. It applies to our world as much as the world of Deltarune. No problems means boredom. A tedious but comfortable existence is just a golden cage. Remember that light is hope and dark is the dream. A cozy town where nothing ever changes needed to throw off the shackles of stagnation so strength could be tested. Seems worth it, right? There's a catch. The interplay of opposites, though it strives towards balance, also creates turmoil. That storm roars within Chris. You can see the struggle right before Chris rips out their heart. It's agony. Chris's being is fractured as nightfall gives the Prince of Darkness the upper hand. Chris's body is now his slave, ripping out their essence to quell any last resistance. As horrifying as this struggle is, it's the centerpiece of everything. Chris's burden is simply an internal manifestation of everything happening outside of them. Notice in Chapter 1 that Chris walks directly onto the Deltarune symbol while fighting the internal fight. Safe to say, this points to Chris's struggle being symbolic of the Deltarune universe itself, the burden of balance. In real life, when nature is profoundly out of balance, frequent hurricanes batter coasts and fires sterilize forests. Disasters are simply the universe reaching for homeostasis. Missteps can have excruciating consequences. Existence is delicate because the line between where things should be and where things are is razor thin. Every person, animal, weather system, and apocalyptic event are players in the game of reality. They each push and pull in a messy attempt for a more perfect world. poor Chris is the one who must contain the mess. You may be wondering why Ralsei does what he does. In fact, he's the one who tells Chris and Susie that it's their destiny to seal the dark fountains. He's undeniably helpful, giving tips, being a tour guide even. Why open dark portals if you're just gonna help people seal them? Ralsei isn't evil, he's just acting according to his nature. By generating dark worlds, he's adding much needed depth to a place that is otherwise shallow. Notice how each dark fountain brings out a vast, complex realm wherever they exist. The computer lab of the library, we get cyber fields and cyber city. These are fully fleshed out manifestations of the internet, which, of course, is what the computer lab taps into. The fountain, where Chapter 1 takes place, is the game room, so it brings a world of cards, kings, and mad jesters into existence. Only Susie and pals can stop the tyrant from clutching the world in his stupid hands. It takes persistence, no, determination, to seal this fountain. And yet, after the fountain is sealed, the world can never go back to how it was before. These experiences linger in the minds of everyone involved. Our sweatshirted and combat-booted heroes will forever be touched by the thrill of unlit adventure. And that's not all. King's power trip triggered by the opening of the Eastern Fountain sets events in motion that will forever affect the future. A once powerful king is in prison after he tried to throw his son off a cliff and betray the kindness of Ralsei after Ralsei healed him. God, these dark fountains really, they just bring out the worst in people. The darkness ain't no joke, but it sure is interesting. Just because the darkness has been kept at bay doesn't mean it never existed. Are you starting to see why all this is worth it? Struggle is what makes us who we are. Negativity gives positivity a background to exist on. Ralsei understands this. As the Prince of Darkness, his goal is to bring existence to the edge so that others can bring it back. This process writes history that's actually worth talking about. Ralsei also isn't entirely in control of himself. He serves a higher purpose in this universe. All this does make me wonder, why is Ralsei so interested in us doing a pacifist route? Think about it. The more people that you get on our side, the more people you get hanging out in Castletown, the more people that Ralsei has access to, which gives him an army. And I'm just saying, I'm pointing these things out. He wants an army, but isn't entirely in control of himself. It's a little unsettling. If you're still not convinced that, he's a little cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, think back to when we choose our name before Chapter 1. Our attempt at a silly name is thwarted when it says, nobody chooses who they are in this world. Much like our world, we all have a nature. Ralsei is the harbinger of demonic forces. He helps quell these demons too, but he carries the burden of manifesting them in the first place. So I'll say it again. Ralsei isn't evil. He's surely as conflicted as Chris is. Our bittersweet goat lad is even aware of the consequences when things go too far. He's the one who told Queen about the roaring. He can't help but kill the light while knowing that killing too much will bring catastrophic disaster. Poor, sweet Ralsei. Poor, sweet goat dude. That's why he hurts us while also helping us. This strange, conflicted nature is perhaps best illustrated when K and R are on a swan boat together. Goat Boy blushes at least 1,000 times. Boy's got a crush on Chris. He's super into the one whose heart he rips out. And I'm not making excuses for toxic relationships here. If somebody says they love you while forcing you to do bad things, get out! Like, actually, you should get out. This situation is a lot less of a human relationship and is more of a dance between forces of the universe. If a human is being a dick to you, that's not even epic. But when a goat and a non-goat have to carry the burden of all creation, that is epic and forgivable. It's not easy carrying the balance of the universe in your mind. It's a struggle that's with you all the time. You can never escape the call of darkness, and the knowledge that answering the call too deeply will destroy everything is not fun, I'm sure. Thanks to the strange night, the computer lab and game rooms are no longer humdrum places for lame group projects and mediocre board games. They are real places with real problems and incredible plots that test the caliber of Susie and Chris's beings. Just look at the library's internet fountain. Obnoxious ads, iconic salesmen, a cyber queen hell-bent on spreading Cyber City's rule as far as possible. Is this not exactly like the real-world internet? with all its splendor and all its toxicity. Queen is basically Mark Zuckerberg, but more charming, and Spamton is the physical embodiment of those ads on the sides of sketchy websites. You want meaning in your life? Give yourself some problems to solve. You want to stop sitting at a desk listening to a yellow dinosaur talk about math or whatever? Then delve into a neon world of villains. It's when a bow is tied and the darkness is quelled that we feel accomplished. We did something big to keep the sun shining another day. The question becomes, if existence is a constant balancing act, then why bother? When does the work end? Sure, we're adding depth to an otherwise stagnant world, but why can't we just live forever in blissful ecstasy? Why does the road to meaning have to have steep cliffs on either side where falling off means catastrophic failure?
I'm being dramatic, by the way.
Because that's how it is. And I don't mean to be trite. I'm being serious. Who are you, or me, to exist in eternal bliss? Huh? What have you done to deserve that? Huh? Think of how many negative thoughts you have a day. I'm thinking of how many negative thoughts I have a day. Is it 100, 1,000, 1,000,000, 10 million, 100 trillion billion? Personally, I'm in a pretty good headspace right now. Just to keep things a little positive, okay? But we're talking about negativity. Sunshine can only go so far to push away the pain. You also need to delve into the things that make you anxious, the unbearable burdens, the gnawing doubts and insecurities that can only be buried for so long. To be free means engaging with the shadow side of reality so it can finally be transmuted into a future worth living in. Though it's appealing to believe we can be cozy from birth to death, there's always things to address. The dark worlds simply bring forth a place where lurking negativity can be navigated and understood. No longer is negativity so subtle that it's constant white noise. Now it can be seen with high resolution. The source of Susie and Chris's angst is no longer a mystery. Even before the dark portals began popping up in high numbers, there was something off about this world. The normies couldn't feel it, or they were unconsciously aware of it, but they stayed away from the darkness. Susie is cool because she embraces what the average Joe fears. Many would rather run away from anything outside the bounds of normal. Abnormal is unpredictable, scary, but for the angsty among us, abnormal is bearable. It's the exciting adventure that will justify times of peace. It's moments like the closing of the Eastern Fountain that make the eternal struggle worth it.
Is this the fountain? Don't know how, but it feels like we stumbled into something really important, didn't we? Well, there's no time to think about that now. Right now, it's time to go home. Right, Chris?
The lighting is epic, the present moment is felt deeply, while fruits of striving have finally been tasted. As Chris floats their soul into the flowing aurora, a rad electric guitar instills vibes of triumph, vibes of epic balance. As we close the dark fountain, our soul begins to glow, its power and light harnessed. Our soul banishes the dark, but Chris and Susie still remember it. Even later, as Chris sits in their house, they rip their heart out in preparation to create a new dark fountain. Determination is the key ingredient, but it's held in the dark void of Chris's possessed body. Lightener and Darkner combine to tear apart reality in the comfy confines of this all-American living room. Opposites mix and explode, yet neither is lost. Light is still as powerful as its mirror. So when another fountain opens, don't fear that the darkness is closing in. Instead, be grateful for the opportunity for deeper balance. Thank you, Chris, and thank you, Prince of Darkness residing within them, for enduring the turmoil to be transmuted into peace. That's the story of Chris, the Prince of Darkness. The story you never knew.